it was rough. I felt like I was working my tail off, and yet I was still making the same amount of money. And it didn't matter how hard I worked, I still was getting paid the same. I was feeling sad, wanting to relieve my wife of that pain or the dilemma that she was battling in her heart. My wife feels very proud of me. She tells me every day, and she said, man, like, it's a huge difference from where you were 16 years ago.
Don't play me, pay me. Cut the tech.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another episode of Cut the Tech. I am your host, I am your guide, I am your man, Coach Dre. My wife, my mother, and my grandmother call me Andre, but if you are not those three lovely ladies, then please don't call me Andre. If you are new here, welcome to the Cut the Tech family. Man, I ask that you, while you are here, please do all the things that YouTube likes for the algorithm to see. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Or don't. We don't care. You're grown. Do what you want to do with your YouTube experience. What we do here in this particular series is I interview some students that I have helped coach through the process of landing a new job in a whole new career field. And so today I got a very special guest. I got my man Eric, and he is going to share his story of how he went from being somebody that worked at Costco and was in the funeral industry to making a pivot to where now he's put himself in a career path that I have him earning over six figures, and he did it in a matter of months. So look, I'm not gonna belabor the point. We're gonna get right into the interview, and I'm gonna let y'all tell y'all exactly how he did it. Lock in, let's go.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of Paid Not Played. We are here with another success story. This one is very, very special to every last one of them is special to me. You know, all my students are special, but this one for sure, I remember specifically January of last year, having a one-on-one meeting with Eric that was supposed to last 30 minutes, ended up lasting for about an hour and a half.
Yep.
We just sat there and talked, and to see the success that you had, man, it had to be. It had to be done that when I got season 2 going, I had to bring you on to kind of share your story. So everybody give it up, give a good old fashioned CTT welcome. My man, Eric Fedora. What's good, boss? You good?
What's happening, you guys? What's happening? I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on, Coach Dre. Yeah, like you said, it's been crazy just kind of reflecting back on the last couple of years of just where I was at. And I remember that it's supposed to be 30 minutes, but we went an hour and a half or something like that. But it was needed. It was needed. So,
well, let's start there, man. What's a story without an origin story? You know what I mean? So where were you at before you found this path, this journey, this wanting to make a career change? Like, where were you at that point in time?
Yeah,
when you reached out to me.
Yeah, man. When I reached out to you, I was just sick of where I was at. Just career wise, I spent, give you guys a little bit of context. I spent 16 years of my life working for Costco, doing everything you could imagine. I first started off at the food court, making pizza, rolling hot dogs, selling food. Then I jumped on into the front end doing boxing groceries and running the cash register. After that, I got sick of that. Then I jumped into a different department, jumped into carts, started pushing carts. Then I got sick of that, and I started doing the tire center, worked in the tire center. I got sick of that. Then I jumped on over to morning merchandising, working overnight, probably like 4 a.m., anywhere between 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., stocking, merchandising, driving the forklift, bringing stuff out of the trucks that we received, all that stuff. So I did a bunch of hard labor, and my back was hurting every single day. I had to sacrifice time away from my family. I had to sacrifice sleep. I remember when we first had our first child, and having to work the 2 a.m. shifts. And if you had ever had a first child, newborn,
They are the
you
2
don't
a.m.
you
shift.
don't get you don't get no sleep. So I was literally working my tail off and then coming home and trying to, you know, tend to my baby and to my wife. It was hard, man. And so I was like, I need to find something else. But yeah, like it was difficult. It was difficult. And I always growing up, I always had trouble figuring out what I want to do with my life. My parents were refugees from Laos, from Southeast Asia, and so I just learned this. There's a difference between immigrants and refugees. Immigrants, they willingly go to a different country, whereas refugees were forced out of their own country, right? And so my parents were forced out of their own country because of the Vietnam War, and then they hopped from country to country and eventually came to America. When they came to America, they had met, and then they met and then they had me, and then they look to me now as this financial savior, right? And so the pressure is on me to kind of they gave me this new opportunity. They wanted me to go to college, but I'm like, well, what money? Because we don't have money, right? And they're like, well, figure it out. Didn't know what I want to do with my life, got involved in the wrong crowd, and then I met Jesus. Um, and then from there, working at Costco, and then also youth pastoring. And then I was just like, man, there has to be something else out here. I don't know what I want to do. Still don't have money for college. Even if I were to go to college, I don't even know what I want to do in my life. And so I was like, man, there has to be something else out there. And so what I did was, my friend, one of my youth parent, she invited me to come work for her um, in the funeral industry. And I was like, this is wild. But
Yeah.
I really hated where I was at career wise. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. So I jumped into funeral sales, did that and Costco for a bit. And then I was like, you know what? I need to cut ties with Costco. So I jumped into funeral sales full time. And then I realized it was a dying business.
Ah.
Literally dying business, right? And then I was like, okay, there has to be something else out here. God, what is it? And then that's when I found out about CourseCareers. And then I was like, man, self-paced. If I really put my mind to it, I can really accomplish it quickly. And then from there, like I'm gonna just shoot my shot with companies like Course Career told us that they'll help us do. And then that's where I met you, and then we had our I believe I finished the course careers within like 2.5 months, maybe three. And then that's when I reached out to you, Dre, and a bunch of other coaches. But you and I connected, spiritually, and just like I feel like our personality just vibe. And so since then, I've been keeping contact with you, updating you on my career journey, and just super grateful for you in the ways that you have encouraged me and motivated me, man. So yeah, that's a little bit of my story, kind of all over the place, but
It's all
that's where
good.
it's at. Yeah.
It's all good. Do me a favor, man. Like, kind of delve more into like where you were. Like, what were the emotions you were feeling before? Like, when you said going through that time working at you worked every job there was to work at Costco,
Yeah.
right? And then going
Yep.
from there to the funeral business, having a family, missing time with the family,
Yep.
having the pressure of being, the provider for your parents,
Yep.
not just that, you're the first one over here with the opportunity. That's why we brought you
Hmm.
here. So,
Hmm.
like, emotionally, like, what was it like carrying that?
Man, it felt like it was it was it was rough. I felt like I was working my tail off, and yet I was still making the same amount of money. And it didn't matter how hard I worked,
Mhm,
I still was getting paid the same.
mhm,
And I remember just seeing my wife just juggling her job and trying to be a mother, and a wife and a daughter. And I was like, the emotion, I mean, to put an emotion to describe, I mean, I was feeling um I don't know. I was feeling sad. I was feeling pressure, not necessarily pressure, but just like wanting more
Mm,
for wanting to relieve my wife of that that pain or the dilemma that she was battling in her heart.
mm,
Yeah, man, like it was just there was a lot of emotion. So just to
mm,
put one on it, I don't think I can, but like it was a lot. Some
mhm.
days it was just like, man, it was a lot. I don't even know what emotion would describe what I was feeling, but I know it was it was not a good feeling. It was
Yeah.
a feeling of like hopelessness, right?
Mm,
I mean, I was still hopeful, don't get me wrong, spiritually, like I believe in Jesus. And so I had hope, but also career-wise, I was feeling hopeless. Like I don't have any other skills. There's nothing
mhm,
else I could do. This is who
mhm,
I am. This is the cards that I was dealt with.
mhm.
That's the mentality that I had, right? It was just like this is all I know. I gotta grind.
Yep.
I gotta work my tail off, even if it means working overtime, even if it
Mhm.
means picking up more hours, and just being so exhausted and tired. And I was like, this is it. This is just life. This is what I've been dealt with, and I'm gonna just keep at it.
Yeah, man,
So
that I can totally relate to that. Like
yeah.
that feeling of hopelessness of feeling like this is it.
Yep.
Like I'm literally doing everything. I'm not lazy.
Yep.
I'm working hard. Like
Yeah.
I can't work no harder. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I just don't have the right tools to put me in position. Here was the other thing for me was I knew I had certain skills. I just didn't know how do I put this? They weren't the type of skills that you could just put on a resume because I didn't have a way to put it all together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
knew I had communication skills. Like when we talk, you did youth ministry. I'm like, bro, you
Yep.
have communication skills. You have the
Yep.
skills to be able to talk to people, to lead people. Like you got
Yeah.
leadership skills.
Yeah.
But not knowing how to put all that together on a resume for a career
Yeah.
and working 80, 90 hours a week,
Yep.
not sleeping, and seeing that look on your girl face and
Yep.
wanting it to go away as bad as possible, and you can't do anything about it, bruh.
Yeah. Yeah.
bruh,
Yeah.
bruh,
Yep.
bruh.
Yep. Yep.
That was a thing. That was a thing. So
Mhm.
that's where you were when you saw opportunity to do something different.
Yeah.
So what was it that attracted you over to the tech sales or the software sales industry and specifically course careers?
What can you say that again? What
What was
what
it that
attracted me?
attracted you to
Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
specifically to that?
Yeah. Man, I remember just doing research, so after jumping out of Costco into funeral sales and I realized it was a dime business, I said, man, there has to be something else out there. Right. So I'm in sales. I know that there's a lot of opportunity in sales. And I had no idea that there was a difference between B2B and B2C.
Facts.
So then I started so then I started doing more research, good old Google. And then I came across your video, um, and I was like, okay, who's this Dre dude, talking about, don't call me Dre. Only my mama or my wife can call me Dre. I was like, this guy's funny, man. Like, I was really vibing with your videos. And then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna listen to it. And there was your story with Anthony O'Neill.
Mm,
And I was like, dude, it's too good to be true, man. Like this, it's too good to be true. Like, is this one of those, what do they call it? MLM, fake pyramid scheme type of thing. Like, it's too good to be true. You can't, like, I can't, there's no way, you know.
mhm,
So, but when I heard your story and other stories, I just went into a rabbit hole on YouTube of just like listening to more testimonies and other testimonies of just people going from whatever it was that they were doing to where they're at now. And I was like, there's no way that I can do that, but that was the type of language that was going on in my head, is because
mhm,
I never believed in myself. I never saw value in myself. I never knew what I was capable of doing. I was capable of doing. And so Yeah. So what attracted me was a bunch of those videos, doing research myself, really hating where I was at career wise. Um, and then that's when I made that jump. I was like, hey, I'm gonna sign up. I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna just do it. So yeah, it was a bunch of the testimonies and just like how people really believed in themselves, like having to have this mindset of going from scarcity mindset to growth mindset
Mm.
changed everything. You know, I think Nipsey Hussle said it best. He was like, if you want to build a brick wall, you have to do it one brick at a time. You know,
Mhm.
I might have misquoted him, but brick by brick.
Mhm.
You know, you got to
Mhm.
build it brick by brick, and before you know it, you'll have a whole brick wall. So
Yep.
yeah. So what attracted me? Um, a bunch of research and just hating where I was at, and the testimonies that I saw, and yours specifically, just really encouraged me.
That's good
All
because I
right.
wanted to. My next question was going to be, what role did mentorship and the community, stuff like coaching, and seeing those other people who were already there, what role did that play in your success?
Man, it played a huge role, Dre, because I've um when I left Costco, what I realized was that I was surrounding myself with people who were just negative self-talk type of people, right?
Mm.
So whenever I brought up the idea, man, I want to do this. I want to do this and this. And they would shoot down my ideas, or shoot down just ways to not encourage me, like, oh, good luck with that. Yeah, like that sounds like a great idea, but that's not ideal, because you're already in your 30s and it's too late.
Mhm.
Those are the type of people that I would surround myself with, that are just so negative, in self-talk and just like belief in what you are fully capable of doing.
Mhm.
And so what I realized was I have to surround myself with people that actually are in the roles that I want to be in, and I need to pick their brains. I need to surround myself with them. So I changed up my social media and made sure that I surrounded my social media with people who were actually in tech sales, who were actually going after their dreams and all that stuff. And so I just surrounded myself with these type of people, and before you know it, here I am. Um and so yeah, like surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded in career can really do something to you.
Mhm.
People who are like, hey, I was there. Like,
Mhm.
your story inspired me. The stories that I heard throughout the other channels, like, just hearing those stories motivated me, and then it also taught me to believe in myself. It taught me to stay motivated, stay hungry, and stay patient. And my time will come,
Mhm.
and then learning from their mistakes.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's super important. And then just the mentorship that you brought was just there's times where I just felt like, man, I'm getting beat up from all these rejections of these companies that I applied to, and just like, hey, I remember you just encouraging me in that. It's like, hey, it's not the end. It's like, you
Mhm.
now learn from those interviews that rejected you and apply it to the next one,
Mhm.
apply it to the next interview, and then apply it to the next
Mhm.
one. So it's very important, because if we're just surrounding ourselves with negative people, negative mindset ourselves, whatever it is, um, then that's what we're going to stay down on. But when we have somebody who can actually get us out of that and actually encourage us and say, hey, man, like, nah, dude, celebrate the small wins as well. Don't forget to
Mhm.
celebrate the small wins. You know, those one of my good buddy, he said this to me. He said, in life there's never losses. It's only lessons.
Mhm.
In life there's never losses, it's only lessons.
Mhm.
So changing that mindset of like, there's lessons to be learned here. And then my favorite quote too in life is like, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Yep.
And so whether it be your own mistakes or other mistakes, you're gonna be doomed to repeat it if you're not learning it from others.
Super
And so
facts.
how important it is to surround yourself with people who's been there, who's done it, so they can stay encouraging you and speak life into you. you know. So yeah, the community and the mentorship played a huge role. Huge
Yeah.
role.
You mentioned it. You mentioned it a couple of times. The testimonies, man. One of my favorite scriptures is, they overcame by the blood of the lamb and by the word of the testimony.
Yeah.
Like it's something about hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
Like, and you hear this in sales all the time. A fact tell, but story sell.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's something about seeing and being able to identify yourself in somebody else and their story, which
Mm-hmm.
gives you the energy to be like, I can do this.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you mentioned a little bit about your going through missing getting beat up through the
Yeah.
process,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to land your job?
After I finished CourseCareers, it took me about close to 2 months. Took maybe like a month and a half. But I remember it was like it felt like 2 months, but it was like a month and a half. So
Okay.
January, well, actually, it took me because I reached out to you January, and then I
Mhm.
got hired at my job in April. So yeah, never mind. So I finished January. Yeah, so like, what's that?
About
Two and a
90
half
days.
months? Yeah,
Yeah, 80 to 90
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's funny looking back at it now though.
What you mean? Explain.
It's just funny. Like I remember just feeling beat up, exhausted of just like, man, these companies, they're not gonna hire me because I just got certified. I don't have any type of experience,
Mm.
you know. And then I realized it clicked for me. It's like this is what I'm getting myself into.
Mhm.
Is sales, software sales. Like you're gonna get rejected, but what are you gonna do with that rejection? Right. Going
Uh,
back to like, how are you gonna learn? How are you gonna those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So what do I need to do different?
mm.
What do I need to do different? If I'm getting rejected from this company, what can I learn from it? And then what can I also do different?
What were
Um,
some of those things that you learned?
so don't take rejection personally.
Facts.
Don't take rejection personally. A no don't mean it just means not yet.
Mhm.
And then even being bold and asking them like, hey, w- what can I grow in personally, I remember sitting with one of the recruiters, and I was sold that I got the gig. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait till she calls me. And then she called me and she's like, hey, sorry, we went with another candidate. And man,
Mm.
I was crying. I was like,
Mm.
dude, I really wanted to work for this company, man. I was just crying to my wife. And then I just I was like, you know what? I need to ask her what is it? What is it that made you guys not go with me?
Mhm.
And she said, a lot of your answers, one specific answer did not sound like you wanted a sales career. It sounded like you wanted more of a leadership role.
Mm.
And so what I learned from that was I got to be very mindful of my responses to the interview questions.
Mhm.
I need to be mindful and even take a step back, like, hey, maybe I do want that leadership role, but seeing this as a stepping stone, I need to cater my answers to specifically the SDR role that I want.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
need to I need to learn how to cultivate my answer to fit the job description that they are describing on the job application, right? And
Facts.
making sure that I'm not going off on a tangent, but making it very clear that I want that job. So that's one of the things that I learned is how to be very clear, and then ask for clarification, and then learn from that, and then apply it to the next, you know. And so, yeah,
Dope. 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 So
yep,
you ended up landing your job. 60 days. You land your job.
hmm
What's the feeling like when you get that offer letter? What are you feeling like?
I was like, dang. I was like, I can't believe I'm here. I was like, I did it. Like all of that, like that feeling for those of you guys who play sports, man, like that feeling of like, man, I work my tail off for this. All
Mhm.
the practices that I put in, all of the time
Mhm.
that I sacrifice, like, and then you finally win that trophy, and I'm just staring at that paper like I can't believe I made it. And I was happy, I was excited, I was just I didn't know. I was like, man, I but then I'm also nervous because I'm like, okay, like I need to show up, and I was putting all this pressure on me, but that's like a story for another day. But I was like, man, I can't believe I made it. Like I made it, but I know that this is not where my story is going to end. This is a stepping stone of where I want to be, so yeah, when I stepped into that role, man, I was just like, this is crazy. I'm here now. All the blood, sweat, and tears of just not knowing what I want to do with my life to finally being like, this is what I actually wanted to do. And I worked for it and I got it. Like, wow, this is a phenomenal feeling, man. Like of just
Great.
an accomplishment of just like, hey, I really wanted this. And now I'm here. I'm here, man. Like this is crazy. And it yeah. Every time I have my one-on-one with my boss, man, I cry. I kid you not. You can talk to him and ask him. I'm not even exaggerating. I cry every time on our one-on-one, and we have our one-on-one once a week. So for the whole 8
That's
months that
crazy.
I was with my SDR manager, Clarence Cochran, shout out to you, man. Um, man, amazing boss. And he would always just check on me personally. How am I doing? And then we always talk business after that. But he's always like, don't forget where you came from, Eric. And he's a Chiefs fan too. And so he was like, don't
That's a
forget
good
where you
man.
came from.
That's a good
Yeah,
man.
he's a good man. Yes. He's like, don't forget where you came from, Eric. He's like, keep at it. Let that be the fuel to what you do, And so he's like, you've come a long way. And I'm just like, man, I'm not gonna
Dope.
cry right now
Dope. Dope.
this podcast though, because everybody's watching.
Dope. So you
Yeah,
kind
man.
of alluded to this. You didn't say it, but you just kind of alluded to this.
Yeah.
You're no longer SDR, right?
Yes, sir. As of April
Yeah.
1st, your boy stepped into the AE role. I
Ooh.
got promoted.
Before we get there,
Woo. Yeah.
keep that thought. I
Yeah.
gotta go back a little bit because people are watching this are like, yo, I'm just trying to get my SDR role.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what did they offer you for your first role? Pay
What do you
wise.
mean? Pay wise, man. I was like, I was not happy with it, but I know that I was like, you know what, this is gonna be a stepping stone. It is what it is. So they
Okay.
paid me it was 47 to 48K based, and
Okay.
then with a commission on target earning of what was it, 80. So
Oh,
altogether it was like, yeah. So altogether it was like 80. No, I'm sorry, 60. It was
okay.
60K, which was
Okay.
it was okay, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Entry level.
yeah, entry level. Which I was
Yeah.
like, hey, you know what? I said I could either say no, or I could bite through it and know where I can take myself. I
Okay.
know that I need to get this title. I know that I'm gonna jump into an industry that I love and I enjoy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just bite the bullet, and I'm gonna take it. You know.
Mm. That's a good mind frame because I'm glad you said that because a lot of people come in, they're like, yo, if I'm not making 70K straight out the gate, then
Yep.
or 80K straight out the gate, and I don't want it. And that's fine.
Yep.
But also you have a success path that's like, hey, I started at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in 8 months, you went from you went from a SDR to a account executive. What the account executive bag look
Let's say I'm making more than I ever made in my life. So let's just
like?
say that. So I'm
Dope.
making more.
We'll leave it right
Yeah.
there.
So I'm like, man. So
That's so dope, bro.
some of my friends that are in tech, they're like, man, okay, yeah. Like, but like I said, man, stepping stones. When you can't expect to have no experience and expect to get paid a crap ton of money, so you got to look at it as another stepping stone and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna bite this bullet. I'm gonna make some sacrifices within my budget, and then I'm gonna work my tail off. I'm gonna keep learning, and then I'm gonna be where I need to be. And you need to be patient,
Career
you
path.
know, because yeah, exactly. And
Career
so
path.
and yeah, man, like so I started with that, and then my boss, he came up to me and he was like, hey man, like I just, want to let you know, you about to get a promotion right now. What do you think about that? I said, I'm not complaining. Let's go. So I got that promotion. And then later on, a couple months later, came back to me, hey, I want to present another promotion to you. And that was like you said, like it was less than a year. I got those promotions. I worked my tail off. I believed in myself. I had God on my side. And, when you really put your mind to it, you can really do it. You just have to be patient. You got to be patient, because if you're over here thinking, man, that's not like, man, you're missing it. You can't be a baller right off from the get. You know, it takes time, hard work, and I think people want to get to the destination without enjoying the process.
The
So
journey,
you really,
the gems are in the process, bro.
yeah, and
That's where
so
the fun is.
yeah, it's like you want a six pack, but you ain't trying to work out. You gotta
Or
work
eat
out. You
right.
gotta work hard. Yeah, exactly. You gotta have a strong foundation. And what's crazy is like, yeah,
Back.
like I've met a couple people who have w- never had an SDR role, and they jumped into the AE role. They came from the B2C world, and then they jumped straight into the AE world. But man, they they failed because they didn't have a
It's a little
solid
struggle.
foundation. Because you really need a solid foundation as an AE. You need to have the skills of an SDR to really hustle, and those basic skills, some of them were lacking. But anyways, that's another story for another day too. um yeah, you really gotta not look at the destination, but enjoy the process, enjoy where you're at and where it's going, the stones that you have to step on to get to where you want to be,
That's so
so
dope. That's so
yeah,
dope. So
like,
dope. So how does your wife feel about all this?
man, Dre, my wife, literally date night was yesterday. We were talking about this. She said, I'm so proud of you.
Man.
And to hear my wife say that over and over again, and we were just dreaming about not dreaming, but we were setting goals for like where I want to I said I wasn't gonna cry. But
All right,
like,
go ahead and let them tears flow, bro. You mentioned Nipsey earlier. He said, "Look, I'm gonna let them tears fall, and I don't wipe them though.
yeah, yeah.
We don't wipe them though."
Yeah. Let's just say
What's
I'm
up,
getting
man?
I'm getting so close to one of my goals in life is to have my wife stay home with my kids, and run the business she want to run, and she wants to farm. She wants to farm. She want to raise some chicken. She want, yes, is and then she wants to produce all those amazing quality meats and eggs to the world. And in my head, I was just like, yeah, right. But being promoted, experiencing the things that I just experienced from the SDR role and all those things that I just mentioned, I'm gonna get her there. And I know because God's on our side, but also
Yep.
because I know, man, we're just close. We're just very close to being there, because we gonna do it. But anyways,
Mhm.
I like, my wife feels very proud of me. She tells me every day, and she said, "Man, like it's a huge difference from where you were, 16 years ago. You were always
Mhm.
miserable." She said, "You were always miserable going to work. And then when you came home, you were always grumpy when you woke up from your naps." She said, "And you were always mean to the kids and me." And she said, "Now you're more present. You have a healthy boundary of your job, because like being in uh tech sales, you're able to create your own schedule, but you got to be wise
Yes, you
with it,
are.
you know." And so I
You got
was
to be
able,
smart, but it's doable.
It is very doable, and I make sure that I have boundaries from work and my work life balance. Like I make sure that I set time for my wife, for my kids, and make sure that I'm present. And so that's one of the things that my wife said was, "You're very present now," um, and that's a huge win for me, man. Because I always want to be a father that is present to my kids and to my wife. I want to be a husband that is present. I don't want to be working night shifts, coming home and sleep, and then do it all over again and try to be present when I can't, when I'm falling asleep, running off 2 cans of Monsters and, 3 cups of coffee,
Bro,
getting ready
bro,
to get kidney stones.
heart about to explode.
Yeah, man, yeah, I was like, "God, like, I can't
Yeah,
believe I
yeah,
was there." So, yeah, my wife feels very proud of me, and,
that's good, man. That's so
it
dope.
just
That is
yeah, it
so
gets
dope.
me very emotional talking about it because yeah, like I'm
As it
proud of
should.
myself too, just making that step and then just seeing how I'm blessed with an amazing woman who can just speak and breathe life into me, you know?
Yes,
So
sir. Yes,
yeah, and
sir.
she
Yes,
was
sir.
behind me through it all. And that it was like one
Yeah.
of the scariest times. I was like, "Babe, I think I'm gonna jump into this course careers thing," and she's like, "All right, bet, let's do it." And
Mm.
she was like, "Let's make sure we go at it in a wise way and make sure we, have our budget straight." And then she was like, "Let's do it. I want to support you in this." And she was a huge advocate for me to jump into it. She believed in me, and she was always encouraging me. She could tell you, I could bring her on, and she could tell you how hard it was during those times, man. Because there's many times where I wanted to quit. Course
Mm.
careers. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna get me anywhere, but I did it. Like I dedicated my time to it. I said, hey, I know this sacrifice is gonna pay off. And when it did, I was like, you know what? I'm not happy with this pay, but I'm gonna keep working my tail off to be where I want to be. And
Mhm.
now, I'm where I want to be.
Bro, two
It's
passages of
crazy.
scripture that just jumped in my mind. Number one was, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing
Yes, sir.
and has found favor from the Lord." The
Hmm.
other one is in Proverbs 31, where it says that it says a a good wife is precious.
Hmm.
This said that the heart of her husband trusts in her fully, and he will have no lack of gain.
Hmm.
That's what you were displaying right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's what's
Yes,
up.
sir.
That's what's up. Well, I don't. You done came over here. You done shared your story. You done
Yeah.
cried. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
I ask one more question. I'll let you get out of here.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right.
That's the way.
The last question would be advice that you would give someone. And the
Hmm.
way I'm going to ask the question is this: where you are right now, if you could go back to Eric 2 years ago, who was in the middle of feeling all that weight, pressure, and everything, and self doubt,
Hmm.
what would Eric now tell that Eric?
Man, I would say this is not where your story ends.
Mm,
You're a work in progress. You're being developed.
mhm,
Persevere. You will get there.
mhm,
One step at a time, right? I think Martin Luther King. I was reading my Devo today, and he quoted Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King said, "It's not about seeing the whole staircase. It's about taking
mm.
one step at a time.
One step at
Or
a
seeing
time.
the first step." I think I butchered it. Sorry, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
one step at a time. It's hard to see where you want to be right now, but you're headed there.
Mhm, mhm,
And so my advice to that would be my advice to Eric, probably like 8 months ago, and then to anybody who is currently in that position where you're feeling it, you're struggling, you're gonna get there.
mhm,
You're gonna get there. The sacrifices that you make today is gonna pay off,
mhm,
and you're gonna look back one day, just like I did, and you're like, "Dang, I can't believe I made it.
mhm.
I can't believe I made it." And it's going to take a lot of hard work, but that hard work is going to pay off. There's going to be self-doubt that comes in, but let it drift on by. Let it drift on by. Let it drift on by. And know that if you got good people around you, you got Coach Dre, you got a whole community. There's a whole course career community out there. Surround yourself with people that are going to speak life into you and not discourage you.
Facts.
Surround yourself with people who are going after it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Stay curious. Yeah, I could go on, man, and just ask for help if you need help. But ultimately, believe in yourself.
That's what's up.
Because you are capable. You are capable.
You are.
Yep.
You got the first person you got to convince is yourself.
Yep. And I would say, don't let money be the foundation of why you want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Once you let money be the foundation of why you're doing it, I think, sure, it's cool to have all that money, but man, like, let your why, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to do this? For me, I was just sick and tired of constantly having body aches.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I was just capable of more. And the skills that I have now, like, I'm like, man, I didn't know that I could build it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going on the whole tangent now. So yeah, like,
you good. You good, man. You good. You good.
Yeah, I just want to encourage whoever's in that role, this position right now, like, don't let money be the foundation. It's good to have money, but just what? Like, hey, what? Just stepping stone. What's your stepping stone? Where are you trying to get at? I was just sick and tired of just being where I was at career wise, and I'm like, I need to get out of it. And I know that I also didn't want my kids to look at dad and be like, dad just going to work just to go to work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now my kids can look back at the things that I accomplished and be like, dang, I'd really put himself in an uncomfortable situation, but he did it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But he put in all that work and he did it. So can I.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to be a good influence to my kids. Whatever they put their mind to, they can do it. So whatever you put your mind to, you guys can do it. Finishing the CourseCareers, focus on that. Focus on learning all that they have to offer on there. Utilize the coaches, utilize the community. Because CourseCareers really taught me a lot. There was a lot of things that I was able to apply to my job to become one of the best SDRs that my company ever had. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and there are people have been there for a while.
Mm.
Some of them choose to stay as SDR, but some people are just, I don't know, they just didn't believe in themselves, or they just, yeah. But anyways, yeah, that'd be my advice, and I'm
That's
available
what's
to
up.
whoever. If y'all want to connect, please, ask the questions you want to ask. I'm here. Dre's always here. So yeah.
We here, man. We here. Well, I'm, bro. Again, I wanted to bring you on to share your story because your story is one of my favorite ones to tell all the time. I tell it all the
Appreciate
time.
that. Yeah. It's
Um, but
crazy.
to see, I remember the day when you sent me a voice message through LinkedIn. It was like, "Hey, yo, I did it." He was going off, and I was like, "Bro, why didn't you just call me? You got my number."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
I
I
want to
did.
celebrate with you. You
I
know
do.
what I mean?
Man.
But
And then when I
it
got
was
promoted,
yeah,
I gave you a call too. I was like, I did
yep,
it, coach.
yep, yep, yep,
Hey.
yep, yep, for
Yep.
sure, man. I'm so proud of you, bro. I'm so happy for
Thank you.
you. Thank you again for sharing your story with us. Anything you need, bro, you already know what it is. You know I'm here.
Yep. Yep. I
But
know
the
that.
last thing we got to do, man, we got one last piece of thing we had to do. We must do it. You know,
What's
we
that?
got a motto at Cut the Tech. You know, we have a motto.
What
We
is it?
don't play. Don't play me, pay me. You
That's right.
understand?
Don't
Tell these
play me.
people on the count of three what it is, man. 1, 2, 3.
Don't play me. Pay me.
Cut the Tech, you heard?
Don't play me. Pay me. Cut the tech.
Once again, thank you for stopping by the Cut the Tech channel. Before you leave, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, comment. I'll read every single one of the comments down below and I respond to them. Also, if you like what you saw here on this video, whether the YouTube algorithm has a video right here that they think you might also like. So check it out. See y'all soon.